So you've watched all the videos about photography on YouTube. Camera basics. What is the best gear for a beginner? Zone theory. Rule of thirds. And you're feeling a bit overwhelmed and you don't know where to start. And that's completely fine. That's completely natural to feel. Because I'm here to tell you this is the only good way to get good at photography. And it starts with this lens. This is the TT Artisan 27mm f2.8. Small, compact autofocus lens that fits right in your pocket. It's about a 40mm full frame equivalent, so it's got that natural field of view, similar to what human eye sees. And I gotta say, this is the lens that helped me the most in terms of improving my photography. I pretty much carry this lens everywhere I go. It lives on my camera more than I like to admit. There's something about this lens, like the image it produces is swirly bokeh. It has really interesting characteristics and look that is more similar to a vintage lens than the lenses we see nowadays. That is overly sharp, clinical, and doesn't have much personality. This one's a little bit different. It looks as if I shot it on a vintage lens, something from the 1960s or 70s. And this natural vignette, some might say it's optical imperfection, but I really like how it makes the viewer's focus into the center of the frame. And I usually put vignette on my pictures anyway, so it saves me some time in that sense. Honestly, perfect lens for me. Because of how small this lens is, it makes it a no-brainer for me to bring it everywhere. It lives on my camera so often that I sometimes just don't take it out, because I just grab the camera and just go outside. Now, as I mentioned, this lens has a 40mm equivalent on full frame. It is an APS-C lens, and I think this focal length is perfect for practicing your composition. It's not too wide, and there's still some subject separation. It's not exactly a telephoto lens, but it does give you a bit of background blur, so that's very nice to have. And also, because this is a prime lens, you do not get the flexibility of zooming in and out, but I think that's what I like about it as well. It forces you to move around so you get either the wider view that you want or a close-up. Of course, it being a 27mm, it doesn't give you crazy bokeh like you would get from a 50 or 85 or even like a 200. Those things have crazy creamy bokeh, but this one, it gives you just enough for you to have the subject in focus with enough context in the background. And honestly, it's a really good step up from your kit lens. On a kit lens, the aperture range usually is from a 3.5 to 6.3, which means that you get a lot in focus, but you don't get as much light into your lens. But with a 2.8, you might not be able to zoom or get a lot of background separation, but it lets in a decent amount of light, especially in daylight. And I think for me, the biggest advantage of this lens is the price. You can get this lens new for not very much money as compared to all the other ones that's on the market. Because it's so cheap, I don't really worry about this lens. I throw it around in my bag so I can bring it out. If it hits something, I'm not too worried because it's so cheap that it makes me use it the way tools are meant to be used. I don't like babying my gear around too much, because that's one extra thing at the back of my head that I think about, which is not very productive when I need to focus entirely on what I'm shooting. So having that peace of mind really helps free up my cognitive resource. Like, I don't have to think too much about, oh my god, am I gonna hit my lens and break it or scratch it? What about my resale value? No. I'm not thinking about all of that because it's so cheap. If it breaks or if it scratches too much, I'll just get a new one. And just because it is cheap doesn't mean it feels cheap, because this lens is built with pretty much full metal and it doesn't feel like a toy at all. The images you get from this lens is more reminiscent of a vintage lens, but that's exactly why I love it so much, because it gives me a bit of nostalgia. And pairing this lens with my Fujifilm, I feel like it's the perfect combination of lens and camera, because we all know how Fujifilm has these film simulations essentially replicating how film would look on a digital sensor. And using the lens like this really plays into the strength of the camera and the images it produces. It really does feel like you're going back in time and taking the picture because it's not as sharp and it gives really interesting characteristics. The flare I really like as well. People nowadays always chase after perfect optics, zero flaring, no contrast loss. But I think there is a certain charm to a lens like this where the flare is a little bit imperfect, but it adds character. It might go a little bit wash in terms of contrast, but it also produces a really interesting image. Honestly, this is the perfect lens for you to start your photography journey. Just get a lens like this. You can buy it new, you can buy it used, and then just get a really old camera body and you have the perfect setup to practice your photography. Oftentimes we think we need the latest and greatest sharp lens, high megapixel, super fast autofocus, but I think when you get a combination like this, a cheap lens and an old camera body, it releases you from the stress of, oh my god, I just spent $1,000 on my camera and lens. I need to make sure that they are kept properly so I can sell them again. No, all this stress and all this thinking just goes away because you've barely spent $500 on the whole set and you can bring it around anywhere you go, whether that's a hike, whether that's an adventure near the sea. Because it's so cheap, you don't think about losing them that much. Like, it's just something you carry around, put in your pocket, put in your bag, and just go on an adventure. And because of how good camera tech has been the past few years, it really doesn't feel like you're compromising on image quality. It's really small, really light. Like, take a look at this setup I had back when I just started. It's a Sony a6000, and when I pair it with this lens, it got me some really interesting pictures and I really love how it came out. And now that I've got my Fujifilm, bought the same lens on X mount, putting it onto it and just really run around town with this setup. And it hasn't stopped me from getting really interesting shots. Of course, I'm not saying that you need to get this exact same lens. Whatever lens that gets you going out to shoot more, and you not worrying about it, that's the lens that you should get. And that's often the lens that we have on our camera, and it will be the one that helps you with photography the most, because all you have to do is go out and shoot more. That's the only way to improve on photography. And if you love this video, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and check out these other videos that I have.